You will see the recording after this event. And unlike the recent events, when I am the only presenter, I show you the topics, I explain different concepts and show you some questions. But this time, I think you should have a little bit more contribution. Actually, I want to check your preparedness for the exam. So first here, I randomly select a few headings. Actually, I intentionally select a few very difficult one from a study guide, from a syllabus. I want to check whether you read them, you read this topic, and how well you know them, how well you know about these topics. Okay, so I will write a few questions about those topics. Okay, these could be quite relevant to the exam because for some topic, for example, the relationship spectrum, or about different types, or about the drivers of partnership. They are relevant. They have their own heading in the study guide, and it's very likely that they may appear in the exam. So the thing is, people may still answer these things wrong because simply they don't know it very well. So this time I want to check your understanding. I will show you some open-ended questions. No multiple choice, but only open-ended. You need to explain it orally. And from the list of participants, I will randomly select one for each topic. Okay. And anyone who ignores the code three consecutive times shall be removed from the meeting. I don't welcome passivity. I do positivity. And if there's no answer from the nominated participant, then I just remove him or her. However, I don't just let you answer the question without addressing them. So you answer them first, and then I give you my answer. Okay. So we develop our skill through dialogue. But due to very high demand, I see that there are 77 registrations so far. There are only 6 participants aside from 2 hosts. So I can just randomly ask someone about this. Okay, and this kind of exercise, I already tried that with the students, with my student, my reviewing student, in CI exams, and it showed that they retain the knowledge better. I hope that through this activity, you may have the same experience. You may gain the knowledge. You may understand it better. And from my own observation, since the release of July exam results, I see that many students complain about failing, although they practice with the questions very much, but they still fail the exam. I think that the key matter here, eventually, you need to understand this module. You need to understand the knowledge. You need to be able to apply the knowledge. That is more important than practicing with the questions alone. So open-ended question may address this. And I hope that through this activity, you may have the chance to look at those topics again and review it better. Now, I think that if you don't agree with that approach, you can leave the meeting now. Okay, it's not compulsory. All right, so if you don't agree with this rule, just exit. Okay, I may give you some time. Exit with if you don't agree with my rules. Okay, so good. Now, For each topic, I may allow you to have 5 minutes to prepare. You may read the study guide, you may search on the internet, you may ask your AI assistant to summarize topic for you. It's fine. As long as you can close the material and answer me after those 5 minutes, then it's great. It may strengthen your memory. Okay, so let me show the first topic. Now, let's start with something very simple and from the beginning of the book, that is the relationship spectrum. And now you need to prepare these three questions. First, list as list many as possible the different relationship types in relationship spectrum and explain the change in trust, communication, risk, and reward along the spectrum. And third, identify the features of certain relationships within spectrum like arm's length, bespoke, single source, and partnership. You have 5 minutes to prepare. Now I need to start my timer. Okay, so we have 5 minutes to prepare for this one. A note here, I don't judge the answer as long as you attempt to answer. It's great. So I don't remove anyone just because he or she doesn't know about something. I remove some participant because they don't respond to my call. Okay, so as long as you attempt to answer it, it's fine. Okay, I don't judge the answer. I just want to avoid the positivity. We need to learn more actively. Okay, this is my principle.
And hi everyone, I'm the co-host of Danielle, and today I have been assigned to call on a participant to answer a health check questions raised from Danielle. And to ensure fairness, I use Excel to generate the a ladder of the alphabet, and I select a participant whose name begins with that letter.
Yeah, that's the rule. So after
Yeah.
5 minutes, we will call you to answer these questions. Okay, so just prepare. So that's time's up.
Okay. A letter that appears randomly is A, and I would like to invite Alice to answer this question.
Yeah, Alice, can you unmute yourself? Oh, sorry, I need to unmute you first. Ask to unmute. Okay, Alice, you can unmute now and answer these questions.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Daniel. I'm still in the office working, but I'll try to answer question. How that is?
Just try your best.
The relationship there's spectrum. I can remember have outsourced relationship.
Yes. Okay. Alice, may I disrupt you a little bit? With the first question, you don't need to list every relationship here. Just list a few key ones you remember. Okay. That's the rule. So you need to recall everything. Just try your best to recall something that you remember. Okay. Again, I heard that you list outsourcing. Now continue.
Okay. In collaborative relationship,
Yes.
partnership relationship,
Okay.
strategic relationship. Kind of down there is the arm's length relationship.
Yes, arm's length.
Adversarial.
Adversarial. Good.
I mentioned outsource, a single source relationship again.
Yes.
And strategic.
Strategy. Okay, good. Is that all?
No, they are not the moderate relationship. And the B school relationship is there. Did I mention adversarial relationship? An adversarial relationship. Yeah.
Okay, don't worry. I will show the answer later. Okay, don't worry. Just list your best. Try your best. Okay. Now, can you explain the change in trust, communication, risk, and reward sharing along the spectrum? How does it change from adversarial to collaborative and to partnership and strategy?
The risk and reward or sharing along the arm's length relationship. Communication is not just that important.
Yeah.
And on adversarial, but on strategic and collaborative, there is high communication. Communication is needed.
Okay.
And trust is needed. And sharing. That's all that I can remember.
Okay, it's fine. Now, can you recall some key features of some relationships as the following? We have arm's length, bespoke, single source, and partnership. Can you recall some of their key features?
Their features of arm's length.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Okay, it's fine. How about bespoke?
Pardon?
How about bespoke, the second one here, the bespoke relationship?
The bespoke.
Yes.
I think on bespoke, the buyer have to have a strong relationship with suppliers.
Okay. Daniel. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. How about single source?
The single source relationship. It requires a high level of trust, I think. Yes, it requires a high level of trust, and it creates what? The risk. It creates a risk in such a way that the organization is one and promote heart. Oh, Daniel, I'm still thinking.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry. I will remind you later. And finally, partnership. What can you tell me about partnership relationship? What are its key features?
The key features of partnership, we have to manage them. We have to collaborate with the partners.
Okay.
And we need more communication on that.
Yeah, more communication, more collaborative. Yeah, okay, but they are quite qualitative and doesn't specify how we treat partnership differently from other type relationship. All right, thank you very much, Alice. Now, I see that Jolene also wants to answer this question. Jolene, I think you can unmute now and help me to address these questions.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me try this one and help my friend Alice. Firstly, I think the different types of relationships that you get from the weakest relationship is adversarial, arm's length,
yes,
transactional,
yes,
moderate,
yeah,
bespoke,
bespoke,
single source,
okay,
outsource, strategic, collaborative, partnership, and co-destiny. It moves up from the lowest level of commitment and relationship to the highest, which is co-destiny.
Yeah.
Then secondly, explain the change in trust, communication, risk, and reward sharing along the spectrum. At the bottom, the relationships, the arm's length, that the serial type of relation, transactional types. I think the trust, communication, risk, and reward sharing is low.
Yeah.
But the further you go up with the relationship spectrum, the higher the trust, the better the communication, and the more equal the risk and reward sharing is.
Okay, yeah, very good.
Then identifying the features in the following relationships. Arm's length is for leverage type of items where you don't use it that frequently, and the relationship type is more short term.
Yeah, exactly.
Then bespoke is when something is custom made. So that relationship will be when something is produced for the customer according to a particular spec or a particular requirement.
Okay.
So there will usually be high costs, everything. There must be a strong relationship with the supplier to ensure that the specs is communicated then efficiently. On single source, it's where there's only one supplier producing that product or providing that service.
Yeah.
And single source is usually with strategic top management level.
Okay.
And it should not, single source relationship should not be confused with a sole supplier.
Yeah.
And then partnership, I think, is when it is high risk and high value, like in high spend.
Yes, high spend. Okay.
And the the power, the balance of the power is equal. Both partners are equal in the partnership, and both can gain benefits from the relationship. That's all I would like to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jolene. I think
Pleasure.
that your answer is pretty good. However, I think we still have some, I still have some note to share with you.
Thank you.
Okay, here is my note. First, with the relationship spectrum, since we have the new version of CIPS study guide and they updated the spectrum, it is different from the 2018 version. So now we have, I don't know, I don't count it, but we have some relationship from adversarial to arm's length, transactional, moderate, bespoke, single source, outsource, strategic, collaborative, partnership, and co-destiny. So we have a long list of relationship, and as the name suggests, as the name of this model suggests, it is a spectrum. So it has a lot of relationships here. And when we consider a supplier, then we can have a plan in mind how we can treat or manage this supplier. So under the lower level of relationship, then we can manage them by contract. We may negotiate with them in more adversarial or more distributive style. In we lose style, we win, they lose. Okay, so that is adversarial and arm's length and transactional. These relationships tend to have lower trust, and therefore we may negotiate with them in more distributive way. We don't need to communicate them frequently because simply the contract tend to be short. And basically, we don't want to have any risk. So we may shift the risk to the suppliers. So actually, no reward sharing, no risk sharing, just trying to shift the risk by using indemnity and other contractual clause. Now, when we move up of this spectrum in higher relationship, then we have other features. Okay, so we need to trust the our partners. We need to trust the our supplier in collaborative or partnership. We need to trust them. We need to share them some key information. That is a demonstration of trust. We share them more information. Second, then the contract here tend to be longer. So more frequent information, more frequent communication. We need to share with them their previous performance, how they need to improve. And we need to share with them what project we need to work on. Okay, so more collaboration, more communication. And with the risk and reward, we can try to share the risk and also share the reward. So both partners may invest in a project or may invest in certain assets that they may operate together. Okay, that is risk sharing, because the assets or a new venture could be very risky and we may lose money. Okay, that is risk sharing. And we don't just shift the liability toward the supplier, just like with lower level, but we try to share their burdens and try to make it like we show them that we are more collaborative. And finally, when the project is successful, then we share the reward. We have rich pain share, gain share agreement with them, for example, and we can divide the difference, or we can share the reward according to their contribution. All right. So when we move up this spectrum, then everything will become higher, more collaborative, better communication, and more equal risk and reward sharing. Now, with the different relationship, I note that there are some key one. Okay, we have arm's length a little bit higher than adversarial. So this is for leverage item, okay, or maybe routine item, but we don't need long-term contract, but just short-term. And the parties may act independently. They don't rely on each other. We can negotiate a contract set of contract terms that is more distributed. Second, with bespoke, the word itself means this is a customized product. So we need to have a higher level of specification. Also, we need to work more collaboratively with the stakeholders, maybe including the supplier themselves, because sometimes we need their advice on what kind of product they can provide, what kind of specification we need to produce, and what may provide the best solution. But this also increase our reliance on the supplier and increase the switching costs, right? Because we simply rely on this supplier to deliver the solution. Bespoke contract may appear in certain type of product or service, like we need to purchase a piece of capital equipment, or we need to have a customized solution like consultancy, or we need to have some design or marketing solution. They tend to be customized and they tend to be case by case. We cannot like establish a standard for them, but we need to customize them. Also, this can apply to construction work. Every construction could be different. So it must be bespoke. It must be customized for every contract. Now, move up, we have the single source relationship. Single source means we all buy only from one supplier. Although there are other options, but we buy only from one supplier. The reason could be we want to improve the relationship with them, or we want to leverage the economy scale. But this also deepens the reliance between this also deepens the buyer's reliance on supplier. So it requires pretty high level of trust, and we need to monitor their performance very closely. If they have some sign or some indicators of weak performance, then we need to deploy the alternative plan or contingency plan. And now when we move up to the partnership, this is a highly collaborative relationship, and it demands not just more collaborative, but we need to have some mechanism for collaboration. There will be more details in chapter 3. Okay, you can read the study guide for that. But here I can say that for a partnership to work, then we can have a joint planning, not just buyer make the plan, but also both buyer and supplier make the plan of the performance. And then the operations could be jointly managed by both parties. And that may involve the higher level of management. We can have the senior management participate in the both here. Some suitable project for partnership could be like when we want to implement just-in-time or total quality management with some key supplier, then it absolutely requires partnership. For just-in-time, we need to have a common system for communication, and the supplier must have very high level of quality commitment. Okay, so we can trust them, we can let them deliver without any delay or without any problems in the quality. For total quality management, we want them to deploy certain processes, and we need to both parties need to be involved in the joint management. Okay, so this kind of project may require higher level of relationship and especially the partnership. Okay, thank you very much for your contribution, Alice and Jolene. Now, let's continue with the second question. Sorry, the second topic. This time we'll have, I think this one is pretty difficult because the study guide doesn't explain it very well. So we have the topic on different comparative forces in the Porter's 5 forces model and comparative strategies also from Michael Porter. Now, I have 4 questions here. First, I think this one could be quite generic and could be interpreted in many ways, but describe how the five competitive forces shape industry structure. Okay, I don't ask you what are the five forces, but what is the impact of the five forces on the industry. Second, I want to ask about a very specific term, that is switching cost. And third, um, you may find this one from study guide, but it's pretty hard to find. It's pretty hard to locate. Analyze the role of market segments in comparative strategies. Okay, so what is a market segment and how we can use them? And finally, pretty basic about different comparative strategies suggested by Michael Porter. In the new study guide, in the new version in 2023, they remove the comparative strategies from the study guide. But as I have the information from other students, the exam still asks about them. Just very recent as July exam. So you still need to learn this. Now, let's start the time. Okay, my clock is counting down. All right, thumbs up.
Okay, so next random letter is T, and I would like to invite Tuso to answer these questions.
Yeah, Tuso, you should unmute yourself now and help me to address this question.
Hello everybody. To be
Hello,
honest,
Tuso.
I am struggling with this one. I think on this section, what I do know is the Porter's five sources, and then the different types of markets, your monopoly, your oligopoly.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a bit beat by this question, but what I did try and look at was the numbers of the factors that influence the how a person can how the five forces affect the factors that affect the market. And I saw that it's industry growth and decline, product differences, and the identity of the brand, the diversity of competitors, and the barriers that are there if one wants to enter or exit that market.
Okay.
Yeah, so I to be honest, yeah, I'm beat by this question.
Okay. No, it's fine. So you should continue with other one. Just try the other before I review the answer. Actually, this is very one of the most overlooked part of the study guide, and later I will show you where you can find it in the study guide. They already mentioned this, but most students ignore that. Okay, so just unmute and continue to answer the other.
Okay, so the term on switching costs, I think refers to the cost if you wish to switch your products in order to penetrate the market.
Okay.
So if there's something that's there on your product
Okay.
that you wish to change from what, so the cost that would be associated with moving from what you currently have to the new product that you wish to produce.
Okay, yeah, right. So that's your definition of switching cost. How about what is market segment and what is its role in competitive strategies?
By market segments, are you meaning things like construction, agriculture, services,
No, they
retail?
are industry. Okay, we need to distinguish between two terms. We have industry and we have the market segment. Industry is something as you have listed, something that they categorize, and there they offer a range of product or service to serve certain purpose. But under that industry, we have different segments. Okay, so how do you define segment here? Just try your best. I don't judge the answer. I don't judge your answer. Just try your best.
No, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Now, tell me some different competitive strategies by Michael Porter.
Yo, I have no idea, Daniel. Sorry.
Okay, it's fine. So I agree that this part is very difficult, and the study guide doesn't do the best job in explaining these things. So it's normal for a student like you still being confused by this part. However, if we don't know this, then we are risking a very huge part of the exam. So let me help you. First, before I show my answer, I think that it is fair to show what CIPS mentioned about these things. Now, please wait. I need to open the study guide, and they absolutely mention some of these things in their study guide. It is just they just stuff too much knowledge, too much additional knowledge in that part, so it confuses you because simply it's too long. Okay, please wait. I am opening my book. Yeah. Oh, just type the wrong website. Just wait, my book is loading, and I will show you as soon as possible. Just hold on. It's pretty difficult, but you need to know this. Okay, just scroll down to that part. Now, when you open the study guide, this is my ebook version at page 34. If you have a hard copy book, you can open that right now. And to so you already mentioned me that there are some part about different level of competition here, like monopoly, oligopoly, oligopoly, or monopoly, okay, or perfect competition, right? But before that, we need to read the description of this model. So under the graph of the Porter 5 forces, we have a very small description. The strength of these 5 forces can vary from industry to industry and can evolve over time. Some industries, such as pharmaceutical, will be more profitable than others, and therefore the structure of an industry can affect the level of profitability. This is the key. It means that the strength of these forces, in short, shape the industry profitability, the average profitability. Every industry is unique and will have its own distinct structure. The actions of industry leaders can have a disproportionate impact on structure because their size and influence over suppliers, buyers, and other competitors in the market. Right. The last sentence is quite abstract. Okay. But the key thing here is that the 5 forces shape the industry profitability. That's the bottom line. If you don't know this, then reading the rest of the 5 forces are meaningless. Why we need to learn the 5 forces? Why don't just learn about one force, like the power of the buyer and the power of supplier? That's all. We only care about them. But why we need to learn about the 5 forces together? Because of this thing, right? Profitability of the industry is shaped by all the 5 forces. And this information could be key when you consider to negotiate with the supplier or when you want to consider about upgrade in relationship with them. Okay, this is very key one. So we need to learn all of the 5 forces. When we purchase from some industry, like as here note, for example, you are working as procurement at a hospital and you are purchasing the medicine from some pharmaceutical company, then you need to understand their own average profitability and what could be the acceptable profitability for these suppliers, and whether we can shape the market, how we can shape the market by allowing new entrants purchasing some generic drugs and allowing the substitution in this market to reduce our costs. Okay, so understanding these things, understanding the key impact here is very important. And on practical side, it is more helpful than just learning the 5 forces alone. Okay, so this is the key. Right, and even before that graph, you can read this paragraph. Figure 1.8 shows the 5 comparative forces that determine the attractiveness of an industry, how much they can attract the investor. The rules of comparison are embedded in these 5 comparative forces, and they determine the ability of a company to make a profit in a marketplace, as the 5 forces influence prices, costs, and required levels of investment. Very clear, right? they shape the profitability because they influence the cost and price and the investment. Very clear, right? So this is the answer of question number 1. The 5 competitive forces shape the industry profitability through its influence on price, costs, and investment. So the strength of each force may have different impact. The threat of new entrants may force or may increase the power of the rival here, of the competitors here. They may rise the price without the fear of new competitor. If the threat of new entrant is low, or in vice versa, if the threat is high, they cannot do that. On the other hand, the strength or the power of the suppliers may affect the input costs of that industry. And if the suppliers are too powerful, then that industry will have thinner profitability because they pay most of their costs to the manufacturer. And if the power of the buyers is strong, then the competitors or the company or the business within this industry cannot rise the price too high because that may because the buyer has a power, so they just walk away. They don't buy from that business anymore. So it influences the pricing decision of the competitor here. Okay, so it shaped the whole industry in that way, right? That is the answer from question number 1. And you cannot find that from just the heading, right? They list about the rivalry, they list about, next they talk about the threat of new entrants, the threat of substitution, and so on. But you need to find the answer here from a very small paragraph in page 33 and page 34. They already mentioned that. Okay, so sometimes there are some pieces of small information that you need to pay attention to. Now, second, with the second question, we have the switching cost. Within this context, I'm talking about the competitive forces and the five forces model in general. And if you read the study guide and look at some factors influencing the market, we have the switching costs. Right, so switching cost here is the cost when switch the product. Okay, so you can find that. However, actually, in other materials and in the original book by Michael Porter, then this is the cost of switching supplier, not switching the product. But we can interpret it. We can interpret it both ways. This is the switching between different type of products or switching between different suppliers. The same thing apply here. Okay, so the switching cost here may appear in the rivalry, appear in the new entrant, right? This one appear in the threat of substitution, this one, and also from the power supplier. And yeah, that's all. All right, so switching cost is pretty important, and actually they show how much we have, how much we need to spend, to switch, how much we need to spend to determine the switch from one product to another. Now, with the third question about the market segment. Okay, understanding this one is pretty important. And unfortunately, in part 1.3, I don't find any helpful paragraph about this. But actually, you can find it in part 1.2. Please wait, I'm scrolling back to that part. All right, if you have the ebook version, you can search within the study guide and you can search some keyword like segment, and it show you from the page 31. Okay, so just read the two last paragraph. The portfolio measurement tools outlined above are very useful. I mean, here for the context, then the portfolio here include the country portfolio matrix and the suppliers preferencing matrix. These two are very helpful for developing procurement strategies. Once the process of segmenting the products and services, I need to highlight this one. However, it is impossible on this side. Okay, so we have segmenting the products and service. Once the process of segmenting the products and service that a company buys and the supplier base has been undertaken, a procurement team will be able to start developing action plans. Okay, the rest I will skip. Now, the segmentation process will provide information that the organization can use to make informed choice about the types of relationship that it should have with each supplier. Okay, so there is a very important term, but the study guide that never explain it. I think it is a very great weakness of this book. Segment and segmentation is a very important concept of market analysis. Without segmenting, without market segment, we understand nothing about that industry. They mentioned that. They mentioned it should be done before we create a portfolio, right? And before we make an action plan, but they never mention how we do that. Yeah, so it's a very great weakness of this study guide. An important job, but never explained. So I can say that market segment is a small portion, or some kind of like you can call it niche of an industry. When we talk about industry, you can rely on official classification. Like we have education, we have manufacturing, we have construction, and within manufacturing, we have different types like light industry or FMCG industry or consumer product manufacturing. And the other one is heavy industry or producer tools manufacturing. And within that, we can divide them further, like with consumer products. We have the apparel, we have footwear, and so on. So under each categorization like that, you can call it an industry. However, an industry is absolutely huge. A quick estimate that, first of all, the fashion industry, I mean, both the clothes we wear, the shoe we wear, the headwear or the hat we wear. Okay, all of them are counted as fashion industry, and worldwide it can be some size like trillion of dollars. Everyone needs to buy something to wear. But when we divide them even further in your country, okay, so we have different people, and every people may have different tastes or different need for apparel. In hotter countries, okay, like in the equator, around the equator, okay, like in Nigeria or in Congo, then the weather is very hot, right? So they don't need to purchase the coat or any winter gear. But in colder country, in Europe and even in South Africa, in Botswana, you still have the winter. There is a winter there, and even sometimes it could be very cold. So the coat and other winter gear can be sold there. So in each country and for each different type of people, young people, older people, men, women, children, even the people in religion, the nuns, the priest, imam, all of them have different tastes and different needs for fashion. So for each of those portion, then we have a segment. And at first, when we analyze the market, then we need to be able to segment the market. We need to understand what we need to purchase and where we need to purchase. Okay, so the where here is about the segment. For procurement, when we need to purchase something, we need to go to that industry. However, the whole industry is very big. So we need to focus on some segment that we can manage, like what kind of supplier may provide in that segment, what kind of supplier may provide the children clothes, or what kind of supplier may provide some specific type of cultural clothes, some clothes in cultural taste, like in selling in South Africa, selling in Lesotho, and so on. By that way, then we can address and identify more correctly about what supplier may sell us. So without addressing the specific market segment, then a business may want to aim at the broad market or broaden the competition. And when they want to focus on one segment only, like selling the clothes to people in South Africa and to the children in South Africa, or to the 40 years old woman in South Africa, then they try to focus on a very small segment. And when they try to do so, then it is called the focus strategy, one of the three competitive strategies in Malcolm Porter's theory. Now, for the final question, Malcolm Porter suggests that there are three competitive strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. For cost leadership and differentiation, then the business here try to broaden the competition. Okay, they are key. They try to broaden the competition. They don't care. They don't care which segment they want to aim at. They just target a whole industry. Okay, so it's very big, and this company must be very efficient to do so. They need to target the whole market, and that could be quite competitive. On the other hand, then most small and medium enterprises tend to target a small segment. You can imagine even a very simple business in your local area, a food store, a grocery store. They are there because they don't try to target the whole industry. They just try to target a small segment. The people around that area, the people in that neighborhood, they try to target a very specific and small location. Okay, so that is focus strategy. So in short, then we have three strategy, and all of the three related to market segment. And even in market analysis, in supplier relationship, then market segment or market segmentation should be the first step you need to do. Unfortunately, the study guide never explains it, although they mention this explicitly in the study guide. But just two sentences. Just two sentences for such important topic. Okay, so I feel that they need to improve this one soon. All right, so I think that this one may be the hardest question for today. So I'm open to any question here. Right. You can see that this one is pretty difficult, and it relates more than just the study guide. So if you have any further concern about this one, please ask right now, or we can move on other part of today event. Any question? Jolene, pressing that means like you like it or you have some question. Okay, you can unmute now.
No, I like it. Thank you for the explanation and the elaboration on this topic. It was quite a tough one for me also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jolene. If we have no further question, then just move on. I think this one would be a lot more easier. Yeah, much easier for you. Okay, so this is what we do every day as procurement. We need to identify the supplier and send them some documents. So this is about part 2.1 in study guide, supplier identification and selection. Now, let's prepare for this one. So I have 4 questions here. Different ways to identify the potential suppliers in different sectors. We can count on public and private sector. Second, identify the processes to select the supplier for contract award, and then differentiate between open tendering and restricted tendering. It sounds like in L4M4, but actually in L4M6, we still have the same question here. We still have some part here about tendering and supplier identification. And finally, identify the methods for selecting the supplier. Also, this process is known as supplier appraisal. Now let me start the time. Okay. Time's up.
Okay, so next letter is M. And Ambuso, are you there? You can unmute and answer our question.
Yeah, I would like to invite Ambuso to answer these questions. Ambuso? Ambuso, you are risking yourself being removed from this meeting if you don't answer.
Trying to unmute.
Okay.
Yes. Good day, everyone.
Okay. Good day, Ambuso. Now, please help me answer this question. I think that if you are working as procurement, then these things should be what you do every day.
Okay. I'm answering number one, suggesting the different ways to identify potential suppliers in different sectors.
Okay. Yep. Go on.
Yes. So the first thing that you do, I think you can conduct a market research.
Okay.
So there you search for suppliers through industry reports, suppliers, directories. You can use even online platforms.
Okay, yeah, we can use some platforms. Okay, some e-commerce.
Yes. Then other things, you can attend trade fairs or and exhibitions where you find suppliers showcasing their products and services.
Good.
Then
Totally attend trade fair.
Then another thing you can do advertisements and you may use media like you advertise and post where you respond to those adverts.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you may use tender invitations. Then where you can publish notices which may attract suppliers to like the invitation to tender. Yes.
All right. So
Then
we can apply that.
other things like you may use referrals and recommendations.
Yeah, good recommendation.
Yes. Then maybe other thing maybe professional networking and association, like you attend certain functions where you may ask for recommendation on certain suppliers. Maybe someone may recommend someone or some suppliers.
Yeah. Okay, good. So this way we can identify the suppliers. However, this is just the first step. We know that there are those suppliers in the market. But now, how can we choose the best one for the contract award? What process may help us here?
Okay. First you put out the requirement. You state the requirements or what you need. Then you may pre-qualify the suppliers. You check those who qualify, their capabilities. Maybe you check their compliance and the credentials.
Okay.
Another thing is the one I mentioned on question 1, the invitation to tender. So where
Okay.
you request bids, formal bids.
Okay.
Then you may then evaluate the bids. You analyze the price, delivery, the quality, and so on.
Yep.
Then the next step may be negotiation, where
Yep.
you negotiate the terms, the price, and you look for value-added features. So
Okay.
then the next step may be the selection and awarding of the tender. So
Right.
there you choose the most appropriate supplier. You award a contract so that your company can be legally protected.
Yeah. Right. So pretty
Then
detailed process. Now, help me to differentiate between open tendering and restricted tendering.
okay, open tendering, it's whereby anyone or any company or any supplier interested can bid.
Yeah.
So open tendering, you advertise. So that one is transparent. It promotes fairness and it widens competition. So anyone is free to bid there, any supply,
Yeah. Okay. So Arif,
as long
supplier.
as yes. This one, it is a very long process because you find that there are companies who qualify and those who do not, but they may try their luck. So you find that it is a long process in selecting the right one.
Okay.
Then restricted tendering, you find that you have pre-qualified suppliers pre-qualified suppliers are invited to bid. So they are only selected. You may find that you give them you give them the what questionnaires
Yes.
to
Exactly.
select them. Yes.
Okay.
So this one is it reduces the time spent on selecting the right supplier. It saves time.
Okay.
So this one is minimize competition. So that is its limitation, and also it limits transparency.
Okay. Yeah. Now, let's move on to the final question. Can you list a few methods for selecting a supplier? I can call it pre-qualification or supplier appraisal in some SIP documents.
Okay. It may be the financial appraisal where you review the supplier. If they are stable, they can be able to carry out the task given to them. So if they are financially stable, it means you won't find there will be little discrepancies when it comes to finances. So that one is the first one, the financial appraisal. You have to check if their credit rating.
Yeah.
Then you may check their technical appraisal.
Okay.
When we talk about technical appraisal, we checking their capabilities, technologies, skills, production capacity. If they will be able to supply the right quantity at the right time, and so on. So that one is technical. If they will
Okay.
supply good quality. So that one is the technical part. Then we have the next one will be the performance.
Okay.
So here you look at the past performance. If they are reliable,
Yeah, I think that Ambuso, yeah, maybe you have some connection problems, right? Yeah, a few things for you here. First, with the how to identify suppliers in different sectors, I think that you did well on this. However, I want you to distinguish between different sectors, like how procurement may approach differently in public sector and private sector. Second, then here I want you to list the processes, like name them. So not just different steps within the process, like you said, but name them. Actually, with the different steps, I think you did a very good job. But here, maybe I need to express my questions more clearly, right? Next, with open tendering and rigid tendering, then it's good. Yeah, you identify the difference correctly. But there's a small note here. I don't think that restricted tendering denounce or reduce the transparency. Actually, but it is necessary in certain purchasing, in certain projects. Like we have so many suppliers, so many interested suppliers, so that we need to reduce their number. And second, that project could be quite important, and we need to check comprehensively before we allow the supplier to bid. So restricted tendering doesn't mean that it reduces the transparency. And finally, I'm not asking for criteria for supply selection. I don't ask for like financial or commercial criteria. Here, I'm asking for the methods, like how we can assess the supplier's capability. Now, let's look at this and address these questions altogether. First, with supply identification, then there could be some differences between public and private sector. With public sector, then they must go through some recognized portal. It depends and it is specific country by country. So every country may offer different portal for supplier submission, like LIC. Then in EU, then they have OJEU. But in your country, there could be some other portal. Second, with per sector, then they have the flexibility in identifying the supplier, maybe from database, maybe from the previous relationship, maybe from some e-commerce platform like Ambuso have said, and from trade show, exhibition, from social media, from internet search, from social connection, from recommendation. Okay, we have a lot of way, right? So this one, I think that is pretty it's pretty clear that you can use these different sources. Second, for different processes, then we have a few key processes like RQ, request for quotation, open tendering, restricted tendering, and negotiated tendering, direct negotiation, and the request for proposal. So these are the way we can select the best supplier for our contract. Okay, these are different processes, and each of them may offer some advantages and disadvantages. Third, about open versus restricted tendering. Then the open tendering offers no shortlisting process. So any interested supplier may submit the bid directly without going through pre-qualification. But on the other hand, then with restricted tendering, the buyer only sends an ITT must, the buyer must only send the ITT documents to selected list of suppliers. Either they can select from their database, or they can invite the new supplier to show interest, but eventually those supplier must go through a shortlisting process or pre-qualification process. And the pre-qualification process could use different way, like we can do the desk research. Desk research mean we only look at their profile. So we select them and include them within a list. Okay, that is desk research from our own database, from their past performance, from their published profile on the internet. So we just prepare a list of those suppliers and then send them the document. Second, this is the most common way. We publish our needs to some media, like on our social media, on our website, or so on, and let the supplier show interest by sending emails or click on contact letter or click on interested. And then for those supplier, we send them the pre-qualification questionnaire or request for information, and then we assess their answer. And however, this is not the only way, although it could be quite convenient since we can do it from our own office, from our own computer. But it is not the most trusted way. I think that the best way to appraise the supplier is to visit them directly, to see how they do, to see their promise. Actually, this could be quite expensive, but could be the way that you can assess the potential strategic supplier. And for this one, if you want to read more, actually there is a document from CIPS. Go to CIPS website, search for the word appraisal. Okay, search for this word, appraisal. And the result will show you a guide, and they have pretty good description how we can do the appraisal here. Okay, thank you, and so very much for your answer. Now, let's continue with another topic. Also, this one, I think it's pretty difficult. There are only 2 questions here. Pretty difficult, actually. And I think that you need to read the study guide very carefully and even ask for help from other sources. So this is the question about cost modeling, right? One of the topic in chapter 2 in part 2.2. Now, I have 2 questions. Differentiate with examples between cost drivers and the cost elements. And second, describe a cost modeling process. All right, so this is difficult. So I think that feel free to go search on the internet. Now, let me count the time. It starts now. Okay, look at the study guide. If you don't find it, or if you don't find the information you need, then search on the internet or ask some AI assistant for help. Okay, so time's up.
Okay, the letter that appears randomly is I, but when I look at the list of participants, I see that there are two accounts. which share the same name,
Name.
iPhone.
iPhone.
Yes. How can I select the one to answer this question?
Just select one randomly. Okay, so
Okay.
I will ask to unmute one iPhone. Yeah, if you can unmute yourself, then just try it, or I can try both. Hello, anyone, any participant with the name iPhone, please unmute yourself and try to answer this question. Maybe you are not aware, but if you are using iPhone, just check your name on Zoom. Okay, I see one. Hello?
Is it me?
Yes.
Hello.
Could you tell me your name? I don't want to just call you by iPhone.
My name is Wendy.
Wendy, right. Okay, let me rename you first. Okay, Wendy. Okay, Wendy, can you distinguish between cost drivers and cost elements?
Yes, the meaning of cost element is it's a specific item of cost, like what we are spending money on.
Okay.
Example will say labor or raw material.
Okay.
And the cost driver is the reason or the activity that caused the cost to increase or decrease. Example, we can say the number of units or the hours that we spend on the machine producing those products.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's
when we talk of cost element, it's also we are actually saying what you pay for.
Yeah.
We can say, example, we can say maybe we want to build the building blocks of what we are going to build. And then we can talk about the money that we are going to spend when building those blocks. Example, when we talk of raw material, we can include maybe the cost of the woods that we are going to make. Maybe the furniture, when we talk of labor, it's the wages that we're going to pay for the factory worker. We're talking of overhead, it's going to be rent, our electricity or depreciation. When we talk of cost driver, we are what caused the cost. We're going to talk about whether that cost or the cost element are going to go up or down.
Yeah.
Example, the number of products that we are made.
Yeah.
The more raw materials and labor needed, the machine running time. When we increasing electricity and then the maintenance cost of the machine.
Yeah.
Distance good and maybe what transport. We're gonna talk about the fuel that we're gonna use. And maybe other example of when we talk of cost element when making furniture, it can include the glue, the nails.
Yeah.
On cost driver, it can be, we will talk about how many chairs we are going to produce. We talk of labor, we're gonna talk of the wages of the carpenter, someone who's gonna make us those chairs. In cost driver, it's gonna be the hours that he has spent maybe working on those chairs. Transport, it's gonna be fuel, maybe, and the vehicle way. The cost driver, it's gonna be, we're gonna calculate the distance of
Yeah.
the location maybe of where we are going to deliver the product,
Yeah.
the goods.
Okay.
The easy way to remember those words, the key element, the cost element, is what you spend money on.
Yep.
For cost driver, it's why and how that cost change.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Pretty good. Now, when you understand the differences between cost drivers and cost elements, then now can you tell me what could be the process for cost modeling? What is the process for cost modeling?
Cost moderate.
Cost modeling.
Modeling.
Yes.
Or the cost modeling process, I don't understand much, but I can say that it helps the organization like to understand where the costs come from and how to control them.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there might be the steps involved in cost modeling, which is you're gonna define your objective, like you're gonna make your budget, your pricing, your negotiation, and then you're gonna identify those cost elements. Like you can break them down like in different structure, saying we have material, we have labor, we have logistics, we have overhead. Then we can identify what's going to drive those costs in terms of time, distance, and the complexity. We can gather data just to understand the market rates, and then the industry benchmark. We can analyze data. We can, by reviewing their accuracy, we can use the spreadsheet like to build the cost model. We can use the model again for decision making just by comparing the cost, or we can forecast the cost or for supplier negotiation, so that we can be able to make an informed decision based on the data-driven decision that we have used to undertake why costs are structured in this way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, it's you said that you don't understand this well, but I think even though you constructed a pretty good modeling process. Now, let's see how I answer this. First, I need to say about the difference between cost driver and cost element. So as you said, then the cost element are the parts that contribute to the total cost of the product or what we buy. Okay, that is what. And cost driver is why and how. How and why something change the price. They are the factors that drive the product cost up or down. So let me take the example from smartphone production. With smartphones, they comprises of different parts like screen, mainboard, battery, case, and other very small parts that I don't know their name. And each of those parts is a cost element because it makes the product. But just measuring the parts alone doesn't help us to identify what could be the change in the future. So cost modeling has a role here. It is a better model. It is a better method for analyzing the possible change in the future. And we need to analyze the potential drivers instead of just elements. So we can analyze the cost of the mainboard or the cost of the battery. But to understand what could be the change in the future, we need to identify what could drive the cost of this phone up or down. So some drivers could be like capacity utilization. And from Wendy, from your answer, I can say that it relates to how many units we produce. So when we invest in a new business, it all involves some fixed assets. And if we can utilize those fixed assets, then the unit price would be very low. So this is called capacity utilization. Second, we have the learning curve. The more we do something, the better we become. So when we learn and when our workers learn to assemble these things, and at some point they do that very well, so they have the learning curve and their process will become higher. Will become faster. The way they process will become faster. Third, about productivity. So when we have better technology, we have more skilled workforce, then they can contribute to the productivity. They can produce more products in the same time, at the same time. So at the time, on that scale, then they can also drive costs down. There are other drivers like the rate of labor and the logistic cost. The rate labor here also relates to the productivity because we have high productivity, even though when the rate labor rise, then our price may still low. But when we have low productivity, then even when the labor cost is low, eventually it may add up and drive the cost up. But the labor rate or the rate per hour here could be very important, could be a very important cost driver. It may impact on the products that is more labor intensive. Okay, and finally, we have the transportation cost, as you said, or I can call it logistic. Not just transportation, but also warehousing. So logistic is another driver of the overall cost because when we need to store them longer or when we transport the product to a faraway customer, then absolutely they add up and add to the final cost of logistics. Okay, so the cost driver here are some more delicate and more complex matter than cost element. We can absolutely analyze the cost element, but if we want to predict, then we need to have the cost drivers. Right. Second, with the cost modeling, it is a very advanced technique and it may require us to have better relationship with the supplier. So we need first to identify the objective, what we want to achieve, and identify the key stakeholder, both internal and external. Some key supplier may be involved in this exercise because they know the cost along supply chain and not just about their own component or elements. Second, we need to collect the data on the cost and identify what could be the cost elements and what could be the cost drivers. And then we can build the model based on the elements and the drivers. And over time, at first, we can build a pretty simple model. But over time, we can try to improve it. We can revisit, add up some elements, add up some drivers, and add some complexity and modeling this one on a larger scale so that we understand what could contribute to the cost and what could drive the cost up or down and what we can do or what measurement decision we need to make to improve the supply chain and improve the cost. So this is cost modeling. Why I ask this? Because this is one of the key part in part 2x2. And you can see that if you attend this exam later, you will see there will be quite, there are some questions about cost modeling, especially about differentiate between cost drivers and cost elements. And for today, for today's event, I think that we don't have sufficient time for other two questions. Actually, I prepared 6 topics, but so far almost 11 a.m. UK time. But and I need to end here because I have another business to take care. So we need to end this session here. We need to end this event here. And thank you very much for your participation. And I would like to say I am very grateful for everyone's contribution to this event. Although this kind of event may attract fewer participants, but I believe that through this kind of activities, you may learn more rather than just listen to me explaining something. So for this event, I hope that you learn more and also have some kind of practice with L4M6, even though it is not the question, it is not the precise multiple choice questions you may see in the exam, but it may help you to strengthen your memory, strengthen your knowledge and your base to see that with strong base, then whatever question may come, whatever question comes, you can still solve it. And for now, if you want to get some practice with the questions, then just go to Udemy, enter this code sunnyday25, and it will give you the best price. Otherwise, if you have further concern or other questions, just contact us on WhatsApp, email, or visit our website. This recording will be uploaded on both our YouTube account and our website. So stay tuned for other events and for better revision. Okay, thank you very much for the participation and see you in other events.